Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another Connections That Matter. Today, joining me is Don Ross from Ross Wealth Advisors in Columbus, Ohio. Don, nice to have you with us today. I would prefer if we were like actually sitting around a fireside, a fire pit, maybe making some s'mores, having some cocktails, but unfortunately today we are virtual as we record this session.
Hey, you know what? Go Bucks, and we can do fire and bourbon some other time.
Sounds like a good plan, Don. I would say it's so important in now our, I hate using the word unprecedented times, right? But the fact of the matter is we are in an unprecedented time. And as we talk to our business owners and leaders, really understanding how to control the controllable and how to prepare for the worst as a business owner is certainly critical and very important. So that is our topic today. And I just wanted to throw out a few quick facts. The largest types of small business financial challenges are unforeseen expenses, mixing business and personal finances. I'm sure that's one, Don, that you see quite a bit, and not receiving payments on time. So obviously, if you have receivables that are outstanding and you're in a cash business and your receivables are down, that can serve as a challenge. So do those challenges, Don, to you seem like the most prominent challenges right now that you see with the people that you serve?
Obviously that is a big deal right now. I mean, we have right now, rents are being withheld because it's federal law right now. I mean, we're seeing just crazy stuff. So if I'm talking to a business owner that is figuring out how to keep the 10 or 20 employees, which is the makeup of most companies in this country, the 10 to 20 to 30 employees, which is the backbone of our economy, the greatest economy, then a lot of, I think, are worrying about, do I hold on to a couple of these employees? If you took the payroll protection money, you got to hold on to those employees till August. I mean, we're just seeing stuff we don't have a playbook for.
Yeah.
But as a business owner, you've got to make decisions. And one of the biggest ones is, it's like piloting a plane. I use a lot of analogies because A, I spent many years in the military, and B, I was a pilot, and I learned a lot about how to plan for the unforeseen, like flying into a thunderstorm, that you didn't see it in advance. And the key to any business running it day to day is cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
So cash flow, whether it's your personal checking book, you need to have 6 to 12 months of potential expenses, not necessarily payroll, that is readily accessible. Because receivables may not be coming in, you're paying taxes, and again, you're just trying to run your own business and stay ahead. So that's the biggest thing I see right now on that question.
Yeah, and that's helpful. And I want to table that. I want to come back to that because I think, as I said, those three challenges and the cash flow challenge are so prominent. And I think if you compare the same makeup of a business to another similar makeup of a business and one survives and one doesn't, it's typically because they haven't managed their cash appropriately, right? So I definitely want to come back to that and get your thoughts on that. But Don, tell us a little bit more about the mission of your business, why, who, how you serve, the people that you serve. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the people that you connect with on a daily basis.
You bet. Great. I serve individuals predominantly, whether they're a small business owner or not. And here's the 5 key areas that I don't care if you're 22 and right out of college and cutting grass, or you're going to be soon retiring from the military, or you're an executive of a company. Everybody has 5 areas that we focus on, meaning are your investments appropriate for where you are now? If you're 22 or 52, they're different. Do you have an income plan? So when that paycheck stops or you sell your business, are you going to be able to pay your bills on a regular basis? 3, taxes. What are you doing about taxes? Everybody wants to pay the least amount of taxes, but most Americans, or where are they putting their money? 401ks, IRAs. deferred compensation, things like that. You get a great tax break, but guess what? When you hit a certain age, you've got to start taking that money out. And the strategy there is, we use the analogy, should I pay tax on the seed or the harvest? A farmer puts in a little seed and it grows to a huge, you can see the corn today in middle of Ohio, it's 12 feet tall now. And what I mean by that is it's more expensive the larger your account if you haven't paid tax, as opposed to if something grows tax-free and everybody knows what a Roth IRA is. So tax planning is huge, not only in your business, but your personal finance. And let's face it, your business, if you're running your own business, it's to serve your personal needs. Let's be straight up about it.
Sure, right.
And you're hoping to make a great living, but at some point you have to sell that business or close it or whatever. Are you going to be able to survive? So investment planning, income planning, tax planning, estate planning, not only again personally, but as your business, is there a little crack in the armor that if you got sued, it could basically end your business? So estate planning and legal planning. And then lastly, healthcare. Again, if you're 25 listening to this, you're like, healthcare, I'm solid as a rock. But once you hit your 50s and you got to start thinking about retiring, and boy, what's healthcare going to cost? It's very it gets pretty daunting. So that's Jennifer, that's what we focus on. And again, whether you're a small business owner or an employee of a small business, or you're a teacher working for a school district, everybody wants to know, will I have enough? Can I pay the least amount of taxes? And at the end of the day, am I going to have a nice retirement? And that could start at 22, that could start at 52.
That's great. And honestly, Don, even me, you don't think about, and I'm probably in the midway point, right? Is when you said the tax planning, that's when you're like, okay, let me make sure I have my traditional contribution every year, my Roth contribution, I'm in the 401k, and maybe I have other investment vehicles, but I don't think I'm ever thinking of, okay, when I pull the trigger, I'm starting to pull some of this money out, I'm going to have a tax event. That's such a great point. So I love that you have this like 5-point playbook that you run with all your clients.
Hey, I like that.
I've learned something new already.
My 5-point playbook. I mean, I try to make it simple, because here's the thing: when people talk about finance, you can see like the deer in the headlight, like, oh gosh, and then some people love it. They're trading their portfolios. But at the end of the day, people want to know they're going to be okay. I don't care if you own, Bill Gates owned Microsoft, or you got a small little 4-table restaurant. We all have our challenges. And at the end of the day, I want to make sure me and my family are okay. However, I'm getting a paycheck or I own my own business. I mean, I've been self-employed my whole life other than all my military career, and there's no greater reward.
It's such a great point. I mean, it's not selfish to say, hey, at some point I got to make sure I'm taking care of me and mine, right? And create a long-lasting financial infrastructure for your family. I think that's perfectly acceptable. Don, I want to come back to, cash flow is one of your challenges that you cited for small businesses. What are the types of other challenges that you and your team are helping business owners with today? Would you say cash flow is number one? And what are some of the recommendations you're making now that things have kind of flipped on its head?
Well, again, any small business owner, many of them just aren't thinking about tomorrow. They're doing what they're doing to make sure they're meeting demand for their clients or whatever their widgets they're selling or making. That's what I would think. And they wake up one day and they think, well, I'm going to sell my business and that's my retirement, which it works great for some, but some it may not. And they wake up one day and go, either A, I'm tired, or right now, I think some restaurants may not make it through this. So it's kind of why it's an interesting conversation at this moment in time. But I would say not thinking about their own personal planning, because they know what they know. And unless they're seeking advice from outside, which we're more than happy to do, say, am I planning properly for myself? And I know that's not answering, how to run a business, but cash flow is, I mean, cash is king. And I'm sure many listening to this are having challenges maybe right now because you know, they're not taking new orders. You know, think of a suit maker. A lot of people aren't buying suits right now because where are they working?
Yeah, home.
Out of their home. And many other people that are struggling right now. So cash flow and just proper planning. I just think for your own personal planning, we talk about the days that we're going to have this volatility, and we build it into their plan. And so when this all started happening in February, we're immediately reaching out to our clients, and we're taking them through a risk assessment, and we're showing their portfolios are matched, and no one calls, and they're comfortable, they're happy, they're educated. And that's why I wrote a book and all that stuff. I can make it available to people, but you know, we build a plan that's based on their needs, not your needs, not someone listening to this webinar, their particular needs, and it makes a big difference.
That, yeah, I mean, because people see the market going up and up and up, and you're like, oh gosh, when's the other shoe gonna fall, right? So that's interesting, and I appreciate EmPower is very similar in nature, right? We're creating a solution based on your business or you, based on you as the investor or the person that's going to retire eventually. So really personalizing the approach, I think is such a great idea. I'm gonna pivot a bit because I'm intrigued by military service, serving as a pilot. When we're talking about controlling the controllables, you said, right, when I was a pilot using that experience, what's your approach to dealing with challenges? So if you're blindsided by something, obviously you've had extensive training, but what's your philosophy around approaching challenges? You run to the fire? Are you the cleanup crew after?
I'm all. There's no greater opportunity with a crisis than straight through it. Now, some people may not do that, and I would say any entrepreneur that's got their own business agrees with what I said, but the best way through a problem is straight through it. So, and I've always believed, I mean, even when before I entered this business, I had a landscaping company, and something would break or something like this, and I'm like, oh, that's a crisis, but crisis breeds opportunity. So, unfortunately, maybe for some people that are a little more conservative, I'm a multiple backup plans and plan for that curveball, which we're in the biggest curveball in any of our lives. And we immediately over adapted and said, hey, first thing we need to do is go out and handhold our clients. Okay, as far as how we run our business. Now, many listening might have a service business and they're realizing, hey, we got to take care of our clients. But to answer your question, it's pretty straightforward. Straight through it, and I'm going to make sure to pick up the pieces. And you know, another thing we did first off, when this happened and the masks were getting popular, and I thought they should be a fashion statement, I went out and bought 100 and some masks and said, hey, the first 100 clients that call, we're going to give you a mask. We're going to leave it out in our parking lot. Come and get it. We won't have to get near you. And that's the way I look at it.
The new norm. Don, talk to me about what's some high level conservative guidance that you provide the people that you serve, that they could potentially share with their employees. So retirement best practices, conservative yet practical approaches around how they're investing their money. And let's say you're talking to a business owner who's going to talk to a bunch of 25 to 30-year-olds. What's the best advice you could give?
Well, more and more employees are looking for benefits at work. And they're becoming very savvy negotiators if you're talking about the 20-year-olds. So as a small business owner, I would highly recommend that part of the compensation to an employee would be some kind of work-based savings plan, and teaching them why, you know, even $100 a month makes sense to say, hey, pay yourself first. Now, there's some vocations that might be more blue collar that, you know what, you know, I don't know, I can't do that. I'll save later. And the next thing you know, they're 50. But there's all kinds of math numbers out there. You know, a 22-year-old saves $100 a month for 20 years. We'll have more than a 50-year-old that starts saving $1,000 a month for till they retire. The time value of money is a beautiful thing. Saving systematically and regularly, and and it can be work-based if the employer can't offer some kind of like simple IRA or a little 401k plan. Maybe they could provide a little extra compensation for that employee and say, hey, this really needs to go into some kind of little account you can set up on your own at Fidelity or TD Ameritrade.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a great point. And I think the challenge that some small business owners have is they may not have the cash flow right to provide a match. And I think they think, well, I'm not going to set up a 401k plan because I can't provide a match. But in theory, they could set up a 401k plan still, or a simple IRA, some sort of investment vehicle, and not have to provide a match. And then lean on, obviously, their HR partner to educate their people on how to invest properly.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of matching going on right now.
Yeah.
I was talking to a couple of clients that can't do a match now, and it makes sense. But even if you open a plan for your employees, and a simple IRA is really easy. And if you have an advisor that can do it, if not, we can. You can do it through your custodian, which is like TD, Fidelity, Vanguard. But it's just one of those things. The number one thing to negotiate is health insurance. No doubt, because it's so expensive in this country. But saving for tomorrow is extremely important, and I think you can offer that a very simple plan. You don't have a lot of Department of Labor issues with a simple IRA, and then you could graduate maybe to a 401k. And that could mean a lot to maybe half of the 25 to 30-year-olds. Some are already doing it on their own. I mean, I got a son he's going to be a multimillionaire when he's 60 because he's been saving since he was 19.
So I heard you say earlier you went from the military to this role. What's your favorite part about what you do?
Well, let me clarify. So I was in the National Guard, which is the National Guard is run by the state. So if you're a soldier in the Guard, you have all the same requirements as an active Army soldier. You're just not wearing the uniform 30 days a month. And as a pilot, you're definitely doing more than that 1 weekend a month thing. And so that allowed me to be what we call a citizen soldier. And so you run your own, you run your life, and then you have your military obligation, which has been great. I'm still in the Army Reserve.
Oh, great.
So I've been doing both. But I entered this industry in '88. And what I love most is when you see the light bulb go off because you talked about something they didn't realize. And I said, that's the business I'm in. I'm in the business to educate you. I don't tell or sell. I'm advising. And when they have that peace of mind knowing that, wow, our retirement's in shape, because that's really our core focus.
Right.
It gives them peace of mind. And after that, a lot of these clients become friends. And right now we're not doing the old office hug. We're kind of doing the, elbow thing.
Elbow bump.
That's the most rewarding in a service industry, which is what we are, is that they have that peace of mind knowing they can spend with confidence in retirement, because that's really our core focus. And whether you're selling a business, or you'd be surprised what people could save over time. I got some very wealthy clients that were police or fire, or they save very well. And it's just fun to bring them ideas and concepts that no one showed them. And a lot of times, Jennifer, they have an advisor already, but their
Sure.
advisor isn't focusing on the stuff that we think makes sense when you go from retirement or from working the last 40 years to retiring. I just worry about my clients, and that I can hold their hand and get them through whatever might happen tomorrow or 30 years from now.
Yeah. And clearly you have worked really hard to build that trust with the people that you serve. Because I always think about a Fab Five, right? Your Fab Five is usually your banker, your attorney, your CPA, your financial advisor, and your HR person. We want to be that fifth, right? But yeah, I mean, you'd rather be on speed dial than on someone's shit list. That's Brittany Ross on our team.
I'm usually called right after the priest. If last time one of my clients passed away, the missus had called me and said, hey, Mike passed. I just got off the phone with our priest, and I'm calling you second. That's not a, pat on the back thing. It's just that, we're important. Our clients have come to know that if they're going to make a decision in the $10,000 to $50,000 range, depending on what they're doing, they call us because I know all the moving parts and like, hey, let's do this instead of that. And they're like, oh, I never thought of that. Well, that's not your job. Your job is to run your business or run your life.
Yeah, but especially if there's a death in the family and you have a life insurance policy, people are nervous right away, especially if it's not expected. So that spouse wants to know, especially if they're not a working spouse, that they're going to be financially stable when their partner
Oh
passes
yeah.
on.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, I have enjoyed this conversation. I have learned some things that I did not know before. I love your 5-point playbook, or as we like to call them, your fundamentals of how you run everybody through, right? And that's how you win games, is through fundamentals, right? You can have the fireworks and so forth and have a really great year in the market, however you want to look at it, but you got to have the fundamentals down pat. And I appreciated our time today. If there are people in our group that want to reach out to you, Don, how can they go ahead and do that?
Well, they can always call the office, but the easiest thing is rosswealthadvisors.com. I mean, if you want to learn more about us, and I think it's right below us.
Yeah, check out the link.
rosswealthadvisors.com. We're in Columbus, Ohio, well, suburb of Arlington. I've got a book if you're interested in that. I'd love to ship out. It's a retirement planning book, but it covers, again, it doesn't matter if you're self-employed or you've been employed. It's a book to educate you on how to plan for retirement, whether you're 22 or 62. Or we're just a resource. You know what? You can shoot me an email or emails on there. I just want to be a resource.
Great. We appreciate that. This has been awesome. We've enjoyed our time, and we'll talk with you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.